The slave markets of Vexithari Prime reeked of desperation and broken dreams. Among the countless alien species chained and displayed like merchandise, one small figure stood out for all the wrong reasons. Maya Chen, barely 16 standard years old, clutched the metal bars of her cage with hands that refused to stop shaking. The humans had been discovered only 3 cycles ago, their primitive world catalogued as a minor curiosity before being stripped of its most valuable resource, its people. Maya had been working in her family's rice fields when the Dominion ships darkened Earth's sky. Now she was light years from home, marked for sale to the highest bidder. "Look at this pathetic creature," sneered a Velkaran merchant, his 4 arms gesticulating wildly. "Barely worth the feeding costs. No claws, no natural armor. Can't even survive in most atmospheric conditions without protection." Maya kept her eyes down, having learned that direct eye contact only brought punishment. Around her, other humans whimpered and cowered. They had all seen what happened to those who showed defiance. The auction platform buzzed with activity as various alien nobles examined their potential purchases. Most passed by the human section with barely a glance. Why would they want such fragile, useless creatures when they could buy proper warriors or skilled artisans from the established species? Everything changed when the Imperial Herald's voice boomed across the marketplace. "Make way for her Imperial Majesty, Empress Zarathul of the Crimson Throne." The crowd fell silent, then scrambled to clear a path. Maya had heard whispers about the Empress, a being so powerful she had united 17 star systems under her rule through a combination of brilliant strategy and devastating military might. Some said she was more legend than reality. The Empress swept through the market with predatory grace, her midnight black exoskeleton gleaming under the artificial lights. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, she moved with the fluid precision of a natural-born killer. Her 4 red eyes scanned the offerings with the dispassion of someone who had seen everything the galaxy had to offer. Behind her walked her most prized possession, Fenris, the legendary war beast that had helped her conquer worlds. The creature was a nightmare made flesh, a wolf-like predator the size of a small transport ship. Its silver fur seemed to absorb light, and its intelligent amber eyes held the wisdom of 1,000 battles. Fenris had never been defeated in combat, never shown mercy to an enemy, and never obeyed anyone except the Empress herself. As the royal procession approached the human section, Maya felt a strange, tingling sensation. Something was different about this moment, though she couldn't understand what. The Empress paused before their cages, studying the cowering humans with what might have been amusement. "So these are the famous humans. Disappointing. I expected something more impressive, given all the reports about their stubbornness during capture." Most of the humans pressed themselves against the back walls of their cages, terrified beyond rational thought. But Maya found herself stepping forward instead. Not in defiance, but driven by something she couldn't explain. That's when it happened. Fenris, the unstoppable war beast that had torn apart enemy armies without hesitation, suddenly went completely still. His massive head turned toward Maya's cage, and their eyes met across the crowded marketplace. The great wolf's ears flicked forward in what could only be described as curiosity. A low rumble emerged from his chest. Not a growl of aggression, but something altogether different. Something that sounded almost like recognition. "Interesting," the Empress murmured, her red eyes narrowing as she observed her companion's unprecedented behavior. "Fenris has never reacted to any creature like that before." Maya felt her heart racing as the enormous predator approached her cage. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, to make herself as small as possible. Instead, she found herself moving closer to the bars. "Be careful, Your Majesty," warned the Velkaran merchant nervously. "Humans are known to carry strange diseases. This one might be defective." The Empress ignored him completely, fascinated by the scene unfolding before her. Fenris had lowered his great head until it was level with Maya's cage. His amber eyes locked onto the human girl with an intensity that made the surrounding crowd step back in fear. Maya's hand moved without conscious thought, reaching through the bars toward the massive beast. The marketplace held its collective breath as her small, pale fingers extended toward claws that could shred armor plating. Fenris moved his head forward, and his wet nose touched Maya's palm. The reaction was immediate and shocking. The war beast that had never shown affection to anyone except the Empress released a sound that could only be described as a whimper of joy. His tail, which had been still as stone, began to wag with such force that it knocked over several nearby market stalls. "Impossible," breathed the Empress, staring at the scene before her. "Fenris doesn't behave like that. Not ever." Maya felt tears streaming down her face, though she wasn't sure why. The connection she felt to this alien creature was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was as if they recognized each other on some level that transcended species and worlds. The great wolf pressed against the bars of the cage, making soft sounds that reminded Maya heartbreakingly of her family's old dog back on Earth. Here, light years from home, facing an uncertain future as a slave, she had found something that felt like friendship. "What is your designation, human?" the Empress asked, her voice sharp with command. Maya looked up at the towering alien ruler, still stroking Fenris's massive head through the bars. "My name is Maya Chen, Your Majesty." The Empress studied her for a long moment, her red eyes unreadable. Around them, the marketplace buzzed with nervous whispers. No one had ever seen Fenris behave like this before. The implications were staggering. Finally, the Empress spoke. "Merchant, I will take this human. Name your price." The Velkaron's forearms flailed in excitement at the prospect of selling to Imperial royalty. "For you, Your Majesty, only 50,000 credits." "Done," the Empress replied without hesitation, though her eyes never left Maya and Fenris. As the transaction was completed and Maya's cage was unlocked, she wondered what fate awaited her in the Imperial Palace. She had no way of knowing that her bond with Fenris would change the course of galactic history, or that the small human girl from Earth was about to become the most unlikely hero the galaxy had ever seen. The Imperial Palace of Zarathul rose from the crimson surface of Dominion Prime like a dark crystal mountain, its spires piercing the purple clouds that perpetually shrouded the capital world. Maya had never imagined such architectural grandeur existed anywhere in the universe. As their transport shuttle approached the landing platform, she pressed her face against the viewport, watching in awe as the massive structure grew larger before them. Fenris lay beside her in the shuttle's cargo area, his massive form taking up most of the available space. The war beast hadn't left Maya's side since they departed the slave market, much to everyone's amazement. Even now, his great head rested protectively near her feet, while his amber eyes remained alert for any sign of danger. "This is highly irregular," muttered General Vexikar, the Empress's chief military advisor. The insectoid creature's mandibles clicked nervously as he observed the unprecedented scene. A human slave bonding with the Imperial war beast? "It goes against everything we know about both species." The Empress sat in silence, her red eyes studying Maya with the calculating gaze of someone accustomed to solving complex strategic puzzles. "Tell me about your world, human," she said finally. "What makes your species so unusual?" Maya looked up from where she sat beside Fenris, one hand still buried in his silver fur. "We're not unusual, Your Majesty. We're just adaptable, I guess. My grandmother used to say that humans could make friends with anything if they tried hard enough." "Friends?" the Empress repeated, as if testing the unfamiliar concept. "An interesting word. In my experience, relationships are based on dominance, fear, or mutual benefit. What you describe sounds dangerously naive." "Maybe," Maya agreed quietly. "But it's also what made us survive on Earth. We weren't the strongest or fastest creatures on our world, but we learned to work together with other species. Dogs, horses, even wolves like Fenris here." At the mention of wolves, Fenris's ears perked up and he made a soft rumbling sound. Maya scratched behind his ears and the massive predator actually smiled, his tongue lolling out in a way that made the shuttle's other occupants visibly uncomfortable. The landing at the Imperial Palace was accompanied by tremendous ceremony. Honor guards in gleaming black armor formed perfect lines as the Empress descended from her shuttle. Maya followed nervously behind, still amazed that she was walking free instead of wearing the neural control collar that had been standard equipment for all human slaves. The palace's interior was even more breathtaking than its exterior. Vast halls stretched beyond sight, their walls decorated with trophies from 100 conquered worlds. Alien artwork and weapons created a museum of galactic history, each piece representing another victory in the Empress's relentless expansion of her domain. "Your quarters will be in the East Wing," the Empress informed Maya as they walked through corridors filled with nervous palace staff. The sight of their ruler's war beast walking peacefully beside a human had clearly caused quite a stir. You will have access to the palace gardens, the library, and the training facilities. However, you are not to wander beyond those areas without permission." Maya nodded, still trying to process that she had quarters instead of a cell. What am I supposed to do here, Your Majesty?" The Empress paused at the intersection of two grand hallways, her expression unreadable. "That remains to be seen. Fenris has chosen you for reasons I don't yet understand. Until I do, you will remain here under my protection." "Protection from what?" "From those who would see you as either a threat or an opportunity," the Empress replied cryptically. "The fact that you can influence Fenris makes you potentially the most dangerous individual in my empire. Or the most valuable." Maya's assigned quarters turned out to be larger than her entire family home back on Earth. The rooms were furnished with alien luxury items that she couldn't even identify, let alone use properly. A vast window looked out over the palace gardens, where strange alien plants created geometric patterns in colors she had no names for. Fenris made himself at home immediately, claiming a spot near the window where he could keep watch over both Maya and the gardens beyond. His presence filled the space with a sense of security that Maya hadn't felt since leaving Earth. A soft chime announced a visitor. Maya opened the door to find a young Velkaran female carrying a tray of food. Unlike the aggressive merchant from the slave market, this one seemed curious rather than hostile. "I am Kiratel," the alien introduced herself, her forearms managing the tray with practiced ease. "I have been assigned as your attendant. The Empress thought you might need someone to help you navigate palace customs." "Thank you," Maya said, stepping aside to let Kiratel enter. "I'm Maya. I really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here." Kiratel set down the tray and studied Maya with compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. "The entire palace is talking about you. They're calling you the Wolf Speaker." "Wolf Speaker? It's an old legend from the Dominion's early days," Kiratel explained, glancing nervously at Fenris. "The stories say that when the Empire faces its greatest threat, someone will arise who can command the loyalty of the unconquerable beasts. Most scholars dismissed it as mythology." Maya looked at Fenris, who was watching their conversation with intelligent eyes. "He's not my pet or anything. We just understand each other somehow." "Understanding Fenris is more than anyone else has managed," Kiratel pointed out. "Even the Empress can only direct him, not truly connect with him the way you seem to." As if to prove the point, Fenris stood up and padded over to Maya, pressing his massive head against her side in a gesture of affection. She automatically began stroking his fur, and he released that rumbling sound of contentment that no one had heard before her arrival. "The palace kitchens didn't know what humans eat," Kiratel continued, indicating the food she had brought. "I tried to select items that seemed compatible with your physiology." Maya examined the tray and found a mixture of familiar and completely alien foods. Some looked like fruits, others resembled grains, and a few she couldn't identify at all. She picked up something that looked like a cross between an apple and a crystal. "It's safe for human consumption," Kiratel assured her. The medical staff ran extensive compatibility tests. The fruit tasted like honey mixed with electricity, sending pleasant tingles through Maya's nervous system. As she ate, Kiratel continued sharing palace gossip and information about the various alien species that served in the imperial court. "The Empress has called a meeting of her senior advisors for tomorrow morning," Kiratel mentioned casually. "Word is that she wants to discuss the implications of your bond with Fenris." "Implications?" "Think about it," Kiratel said, lowering her voice. "Fenris is more than just a war beast. He's a symbol of imperial power. For nearly a decade, he's been the Empress's ultimate weapon. Absolutely loyal and completely unstoppable. Now suddenly he's bonded with a human slave girl that nobody understands. Some people are going to see that as a threat to the established order." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She had been so focused on the wonder of her new situation that she hadn't considered the political ramifications. "What kind of threat?" "The dangerous kind," Kiratel replied seriously. "There are factions within the Dominion that question the Empress's expansionist policies. They might see your influence over Fenris as an opportunity to challenge her authority. Or worse, they might see you as a threat to be eliminated." As night fell over Dominion Prime, Maya lay in her luxurious alien bed while Fenris kept watch by the window. The warbeast's presence was comforting, but Kiratel's warnings echoed in her mind. She was no longer just a lost human girl trying to survive slavery. Somehow she had become a player in galactic politics. with forces she couldn't even imagine beginning to take notice of her existence. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, and new revelations about the bond that connected her to the most feared predator in the known galaxy. The Imperial War Chamber was a place where the fate of star systems had been decided for over a century. Its circular design allowed the Empress to see all of her advisors at once, while the massive holographic display in the center could show detailed maps of any world in the known galaxy. Maya had never imagined she would find herself standing in such a room. Yet here she was, with Fenris at her side and the most powerful beings in the Dominion watching her every move. "The situation is unprecedented," declared Admiral Thaxron, his crystalline features reflecting the chamber's ambient lighting. "In all our records, Fenris has never shown loyalty to anyone except Her Imperial Majesty. This human's influence over him represents a potential security risk." Maya tried to make herself invisible while the debate raged around her. She hadn't asked to be brought to this meeting, but the Empress had insisted that she needed to understand the full scope of what was happening. Fenris lay beside her chair, his amber eyes tracking every speaker while his body remained relaxed but ready. "Security risk?" challenged General Vexkar, his mandibles clicking with agitation. "This could be an opportunity instead. If the human can truly command Fenris's loyalty, think of what that could mean for our military capabilities." "You're both missing the point," interrupted Dr. Zephyr, the royal xenobiologist. Her multiple tentacles gestured excitedly as she spoke. "The bond between this human and Fenris appears to be telepathic or empathic in nature. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to replicate it with other war beasts." Maya shifted uncomfortably in her chair. They were talking about her like she was a laboratory specimen rather than a person. The casual discussion of experiments and military applications made her stomach turn. The Empress sat in silence throughout the debate, her red eyes moving from speaker to speaker as she absorbed their various perspectives. Finally, she raised one clawed hand and the chamber fell quiet. "Dr. Zephyr, you will begin a comprehensive study of the human's physiology and psychology. I want to understand exactly how this bond functions." The Empress's gaze shifted to Maya. "You will cooperate fully with these examinations." "Yes, Your Majesty," Maya replied quietly, though the idea of being studied like an alien specimen filled her with dread. "Admiral Thaxron, you will review our security protocols. If the human represents a potential threat, I want contingencies in place." The Empress continued distributing orders with the efficiency that had made her a legendary military commander. "General Vexkar, you will oversee the humans' training." "Training, Your Majesty." Vexkar's compound eyes reflected confusion. If she can command Fenris, then she needs to understand the responsibility that comes with that power. "Begin with basic combat instruction and tactical awareness. I want to see what this human is truly capable of." Maya's heart raced at the mention of combat training. She had never fought anyone in her life, unless playground scuffles counted as combat experience. "Your Majesty, I don't think I'm cut out for military training." "That remains to be determined," the Empress replied coldly. "Fenris chose you for reasons we don't yet understand. Until we do, you will be prepared for whatever role destiny has in mind." The meeting continued for another hour, with various advisors discussing logistical details and security measures. Maya found herself growing increasingly overwhelmed by the complexity of the political situation she had stumbled into. All she had done was reach out to a creature that seemed lonely and afraid, just like herself. Now suddenly she was at the center of galactic politics. After the advisors were dismissed, the Empress approached Maya's chair. Fenris immediately sat up straighter, his attention focused on his longtime companion. "Walk with me, human," the Empress commanded. They left the war chamber and entered one of the palace's vast gardens, where alien plants created impossible geometric patterns under the light of Dominion Prime's 3 moons. Fenris bounded ahead, clearly enjoying the open space after being confined in the formal meeting room. "You're afraid," the Empress observed as they walked along a crystalline pathway. "Wouldn't you be?" Maya replied honestly. A week ago, I was working in rice fields on a planet you've probably never heard of. Now I'm supposed to be some kind of military asset because your wolf likes me. Fenris is not my wolf, the Empress corrected with surprising gentleness. He chose to serve me, just as he has now chosen to bond with you. The relationship was always his decision. Maya watched as Fenris chased something that looked like a floating flower through the alien garden. Despite his massive size and lethal capabilities, he moved with the playful energy of a puppy. How did you meet him? The Empress was quiet for so long that Maya wondered if she had asked an inappropriate question. Finally, she spoke. I was a young warrior then, leading a scouting mission on a world at the edge of our territory. My squad was ambushed by rebels who had somehow acquired military-grade weapons. They killed everyone except me. Maya looked up at the towering alien ruler, trying to imagine her as anything other than the supremely confident being she appeared to be. I was wounded and trapped in a cave system, certain I would die there alone. That's when Fenris found me. He was just a cub then, separated from his pack and starving. We kept each other alive during the 3 weeks it took for a rescue team to locate us. He saved your life, Maya realized, and I saved his. That's how real bonds are formed, through mutual need and shared survival. The Empress looked at Maya with those unreadable red eyes. What I want to understand is why he would risk that bond to create a new one with you. They walked in companionable silence for a while, watching Fenris explore the garden with obvious joy. Finally, Maya found the courage to ask the question that had been bothering her since the meeting. What happens if your scientists can't figure out how our bond works? What happens if I can't become the military asset you want me to be? The Empress considered the question carefully. Then you will have proven that not everything in the universe can be conquered, cataloged, or weaponized. That would be a valuable lesson in itself. And you'd be okay with that? I have conquered 17 star systems, commanded the loyalty of 1 billion soldiers, and built an empire that will last for millennia. But I have never had a friend, human. I have never experienced the kind of connection you seem to share with Fenris. The Empress paused beside a fountain that sparkled with bioluminescent water. Perhaps there are some things more valuable than military advantages. Maya stared at the most powerful being in the galaxy, suddenly seeing her not as a fearsome conqueror, but as someone who had spent her entire life surrounded by followers and servants, but never equals, never friends. Would you like to learn how to pet him properly? Maya asked impulsively. The Empress's red eyes widened in surprise. I beg your pardon? Fenris, you've been together for years, but I bet you've never just played with him, scratched behind his ears, rubbed his belly, that sort of thing. That would be undignified for an imperial war beast. Maya grinned, feeling more confident than she had since arriving at the palace. Your Imperial Majesty, with all due respect, Fenris is still a dog at heart, and every dog needs belly rubs. As if summoned by their conversation, Fenris trotted over and flopped down on his back in the soft alien grass, his massive paws waving in the air while he looked expectantly at both of them. See? Maya said, kneeling down to scratch Fenris's exposed belly. He's been waiting for you to figure this out. For the first time since Maya had met her, the Empress looked genuinely uncertain. Slowly, tentatively, she extended one clawed hand toward Fenris's soft underbelly. When her fingers made contact, the great war beast released a sound of pure contentment that echoed through the garden. The smile that spread across the Empress's features was unlike anything Maya had seen before. It was the smile of someone discovering joy they had never known they were missing. 3 weeks into her stay at the Imperial Palace, Maya had established a routine that would have seemed impossible when she first arrived. Each morning began with combat training under General Vexkar's demanding supervision, followed by scientific examinations with Dr. Zephyr, and ending with strategic lessons, personally conducted by the Empress herself. The training ground where Maya now spent her mornings was a vast underground complex designed to simulate every type of combat environment imaginable. Today, holographic projectors created the illusion of a dense jungle world, while atmospheric processors filled the air with humid, oxygen-rich atmosphere that made Maya feel more at home than she had in weeks. Again, General Vexkar commanded, his mandibles clicking with impatience. Your stance is still wrong. Humans may be weak, but even weak creatures can be dangerous if they understand leverage and timing. Maya wiped sweat from her forehead and raised the training weapon again. It was designed to simulate the weight and balance of a real plasma rifle, though it fired only harmless energy pulses that would sting rather than kill. She had never imagined herself holding any kind of weapon, but the general insisted that anyone capable of commanding Fenris needed to understand the basics of warfare. Focus on your target, Vexkar instructed. Don't think about the weapon or your grip or your stance. Think about what you want to accomplish. Maya sighted down the weapon's scope at a holographic enemy soldier lurking behind a simulated tree. She squeezed the trigger and watched with satisfaction as the energy pulse struck center mass, causing the target to flicker and disappear. Better, Vexkar admitted grudgingly. Your accuracy has improved significantly. However, shooting at stationary targets is children's play compared to real combat. As if summoned by his words, new holographic enemies materialized around the training ground. These moved with realistic AI patterns, taking cover, advancing tactically, and returning simulated fire. Maya felt her heart rate spike as the peaceful jungle became a war zone. Fenris, heal? She called instinctively. The great war beast, who had been lounging in the shade nearby, immediately leaped to his feet and positioned himself at Maya's left side. His amber eyes tracked the holographic enemies while his powerful muscles tensed for action. Interesting, Vexkar observed. You defaulted to pack tactics without conscious thought. Most species fight as individuals until they're specifically trained otherwise. Maya moved through the simulated battlefield with Fenris beside her, taking cover behind holographic rocks and trees while engaging targets. The warbeast seemed to anticipate her movements, positioning himself to protect her flanks while she focused on shooting. It felt natural in a way that surprised her. Humans evolved as cooperative hunters, Maya explained between shots. We couldn't survive alone, so we learned to work together. And yet your species was conquered with minimal resistance, Vexkar pointed out, though his tone held curiosity rather than mockery. Because we were caught completely off guard, Maya replied, dropping to one knee as energy bolts whizzed overhead. We'd never encountered anything like your technology. Give us time to adapt, and we'll figure out how to fight back. The training session ended with Maya successfully completing a complex tactical scenario that had taken most alien species months to master. As the holograms faded away, she found herself breathing hard but exhilarated. There was something deeply satisfying about moving in perfect coordination with Fenris, each of them instinctively understanding their role in the partnership. Your progress is remarkable, Vexkar admitted as they left the training ground. I've never seen anyone develop tactical instincts so quickly. It's not just me, Maya protested, scratching behind Fenris's ears. He makes it easy. It's like we share the same thoughts sometimes. From the training ground, Maya proceeded to Dr. Zephyr's laboratory for her daily examinations. The xenobiologist's workspace was a maze of sophisticated scanning equipment and specimen containers, filled with biological samples from across the galaxy. Maya, perfect timing. Dr. Zephyr greeted her with enthusiasm that had grown more pronounced each day. I've made the most fascinating discovery about your neurological patterns. Maya settled into the scanner chair while Fenris made himself comfortable on a specially designed platform nearby. The scanning process had become routine, though she still found it slightly uncomfortable to have her thoughts and emotions analyzed by alien technology. Your brain shows unprecedented levels of activity in the regions associated with empathy and emotional bonding, Dr. Zephyr explained as data streams flowed across multiple displays. Most species show some activity in these areas, but humans appear to be evolutionary specialists in forming emotional connections. What does that mean exactly? It means your entire species may be uniquely adapted for forming interspecies bonds. The connection you share with Fenris isn't an anomaly. It's an expression of humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage. Maya watched the brain's scans with growing fascination. So other humans could do this too? Theoretically, yes, though I suspect it requires specific circumstances and compatible personalities on both sides. Dr. Zephyr's tentacles danced across her control interfaces. The truly remarkable thing is how the bond affects Fenris as well. The screens shifted to display scans of Fenris's neural activity. Maya gasped as she saw patterns that seemed to mirror her own brain waves, as if they were somehow synchronized. "You're not just commanding him," Dr. Zephyr explained excitedly. "You're sharing consciousness with him. The bond works both ways, allowing you to feel what he feels and vice versa." "That's why I always know where he is," Maya realized, "and why I can sense his emotions." Exactly. This level of interspecies mental connection has never been documented before. It's completely unprecedented in our scientific records. As the examination concluded, Maya felt a growing sense of unease. Every day brought new revelations about her abilities, but also new questions about what the Dominion intended to do with that knowledge. Her final appointment of the day was in the Empress's private study, a magnificent chamber lined with tactical displays showing the current status of Imperial military operations across 17 star systems. The Empress stood before a massive holographic map, studying troop movements and supply lines with the focus of someone who held the lives of billions in her hands. "How was your training today?" the Empress asked without looking away from the display. "General Vexkar says I'm progressing faster than expected," Maya reported, settling into a chair while Fenris claimed his usual spot near the window. "And Dr. Zephyr thinks she's figured out how the bond works." "Yes, I've read her preliminary reports." "Fascinating stuff." The Empress finally turned away from her tactical displays. "Tell me, Maya, what do you know about the rebellion?" Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "Just rumors from the other palace staff. Something about Outer Rim systems refusing to pay Imperial taxes." "It's more serious than that," the Empress said grimly. 3-star systems have declared independence and they're spreading propaganda about human liberation throughout the outer territories. They claim that humanity's enslavement proves the Dominion has become corrupt and tyrannical. "Are they right?" Maya asked before she could stop herself. The Empress studied her with those unreadable red eyes. "That's exactly the kind of question that makes this situation so dangerous. The rebels aren't just fighting against Imperial authority. They're fighting for an idea. They believe that a galaxy where species like yours can be enslaved is a galaxy that needs to be changed." Maya felt her heart pounding as she began to understand the implications. "And they know about me?" "Intelligence reports suggest they're very interested in the human who can command the Imperial war beast." "You've become a symbol, Maya, whether you intended to or not." The weight of galactic politics settled on Maya's shoulders like a crushing burden. She was no longer just a lost girl trying to survive in an alien empire. Somehow, she had become a focal point for forces that could reshape the galaxy itself. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. The Empress smiled, though there was no warmth in the expression. "Now you learn what it really means to have power, and to make the choices that come with it." The attack came without warning in the dark hours before dawn. Maya woke to the sound of plasma fire echoing through the palace corridors and the urgent howling of security alarms. Fenris was already on his feet, his hackles raised and a low growl rumbling in his chest as he sensed danger approaching. "Stay here," Maya whispered, though she knew the command was pointless. Wherever she went, Fenris would follow. The door to her quarters hissed open to reveal Kiratel, her forearms carrying weapons and emergency gear. "Rebels have infiltrated the palace," the Velkaran announced breathlessly. "They're trying to reach the detention levels to free human prisoners, but intelligence suggests they're also after you." Maya's blood ran cold. "Me? Why would they want me?" "Think about it," Kiratel replied urgently as she handed Maya a personal defense weapon. "You're either proof that humans can coexist peacefully with the Dominion, or you're a symbol of human collaboration with their oppressors. Either way, you're valuable to their cause." The sound of combat grew closer, and Maya could hear the distinctive whine of plasma rifles mixed with shouted orders in languages she didn't recognize. Fenris pressed against her side, his amber eyes alert for any sign of immediate threat. "The Empress has ordered you moved to the secure bunker beneath the palace," Kiratel continued. "General Vexkar is leading an escort team. But we need to move now before the rebels break through the outer defenses." They left Maya's quarters and entered corridors filled with smoke and emergency lighting. Palace guards in their distinctive black armor rushed past, their weapons ready as they responded to threats throughout the massive complex. The organized efficiency of the Imperial forces was impressive, but Maya could sense their tension. This wasn't a drill or a minor security incident. How did rebels get inside the palace? Maya asked as they hurried toward the central lift system. Inside help, Kiratel replied grimly. Someone with high-level access provided them with security codes and patrol schedules. The Empress suspects a conspiracy within her own court. The lift doors opened to reveal General Vexcar with a squad of elite guards. The insectoid warrior's mandibles were clicking rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation that Maya had learned to recognize. Finally, Vexcar snapped. "We need to get you to safety immediately. Intelligence reports suggest the rebels have specific orders to either capture or kill you." As the lift descended toward the secure levels, Maya felt a strange tingling sensation through her bond with Fenris. The war beast was picking up something that the others couldn't detect, his enhanced senses revealing dangers that normal security systems might miss. "Something's wrong," Maya said suddenly. Fenris senses an ambush. Vexcar's compound eyes focused on her intently. "Where?" Maya closed her eyes, letting herself sink deeper into the mental connection she shared with Fenris. Through his senses, she could detect hidden heat signatures in the corridors below, weapons charged and ready for combat. "They're waiting for us in the bunker level," she reported. "At least a dozen fighters positioned to catch us in crossfire when the lift opens." "Impossible," one of the guards protested. "Those areas are supposed to be secure." Unless someone provided them with access, Vexcar realized, his mandibles clicking with fury. "We've been betrayed at the highest levels." The general quickly reprogrammed the lift to stop at an intermediate level while he contacted his forces through encrypted communications. Maya listened to the rapid exchange of tactical information and felt a growing sense of dread. The rebels weren't just conducting a random attack. They had planned this operation specifically to get to her. "New plan," Vexcar announced. "We're going to the Imperial Command Center. The Empress needs to know about this security breach immediately." They emerged from the lift into corridors that showed signs of recent combat. Scorch marks on the walls and debris scattered across the floor indicated that fierce fighting had taken place here only minutes earlier. Fenris's hackles remained raised as his acute senses detected lingering traces of danger. The command center was a hive of activity when they arrived. The Empress stood before a massive tactical display, her red eyes scanning reports from across the palace complex, while she coordinated the Imperial response. Her calm demeanor was unshaken despite the chaos around her. "Maya," the Empress acknowledged her arrival without looking away from the displays. "I trust General Vexcar has informed you of the situation." "The bunker level was compromised," Maya reported. "Fenris detected the ambush before we walked into it." This finally got the Empress's full attention. "You're certain?" "Completely. There were at least 12 fighters waiting for us." Maya hesitated before adding, "Your Majesty, I think they want to take me alive. This feels too elaborate for an assassination attempt." "Agreed," the Empress nodded grimly. "The question is whether they want you as a hostage, a propaganda tool, or something else entirely." Admiral Thaxeron approached with a data tablet containing the latest intelligence reports. "Your Imperial Majesty, we've identified the source of the security breach. Court Advisor Yexithara has been feeding information to the rebels for at least 2 months. Maya felt sick as she recognized the name. Yexithara was a senior advisor, who had been present at several strategy meetings where her abilities had been discussed. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the personal danger, but because it represented a fundamental breakdown in the trust that held the Empire together. "Have you located Yexithara?" the Empress asked coldly. "She disappeared shortly before the attack began," Thaxeron reported. "However, we intercepted several of her communications with rebel cells. The rebels believe that Maya represents a new evolution in human capabilities, and they want to study her for themselves." "Study me how?" Maya demanded, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. "They think your bond with Fenris proves that humans can command alien military assets," the Empress explained. "If they could replicate that ability, they could turn captured Imperial war beasts against us." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. She wasn't just a symbol or a propaganda tool, she was potentially a weapon that could be reverse-engineered and used to destroy the empire that had become her home. "The rebels are currently fighting their way toward this level," Vexcar reported as new tactical information flowed across the displays. "Our forces are holding them back, but they're showing unusual coordination and planning." "Because they know exactly where they're going and what they'll face," the Empress realized. Yexthera provided them with detailed maps and security protocols. Maya watched the tactical display with growing horror as red markers indicating rebel forces moved steadily closer to their position. Each marker represented beings who were willing to die to get their hands on her, either to use her abilities for their cause or to prevent the Empire from exploiting them further. "Your Imperial Majesty," Maya said quietly, "what if I went with them willingly? What if that's the only way to prevent more bloodshed?" The silence that followed her suggestion was deafening. Every being in the command center turned to stare at her, their expressions ranging from shock to admiration to horror. "You would sacrifice yourself for an empire that enslaved your people?" Admiral Thaxron asked, his crystalline features reflecting disbelief. "I would sacrifice myself for the people who have become my friends," Maya corrected, looking directly at the Empress, "and for the possibility that we can find a better way forward than endless warfare." Fenris whimpered softly and pressed closer to her side, sensing her emotional turmoil through their bond. The great warbeast looked up at her with amber eyes full of trust and devotion, reminding her that whatever choice she made would affect him as well. The Empress stepped away from the tactical displays and approached Maya directly. For the first time since they had met, the imposing alien ruler looked genuinely vulnerable. "There might be another option," the Empress said slowly, "something more dangerous than surrender, but potentially more effective than continued warfare." Maya met those unreadable red eyes, sensing that whatever the Empress was about to propose would change everything. "What did you have in mind?" The plan the Empress proposed was audacious beyond anything Maya could have imagined. Instead of hiding or fighting the rebels, they would meet them head-on in the most public way possible. A formal challenge in the ancient arena of truth, where disputes between civilizations had been settled for over 1,000 years. The arena operates under sacred laws that even rebels must respect, the Empress explained as they prepared for what could be their final confrontation. Both sides present their champions, and the outcome determines the moral authority to rule. If we win, the rebellion loses legitimacy across the galaxy. If we lose, the Empire falls, Maya finished quietly. The Empire changes, the Empress corrected, which might not be the worst outcome depending on what replaces it. Maya stood before a mirror in her quarters, barely recognizing the person looking back at her. Gone was the simple peasant girl who had worked in rice fields on a distant planet. In her place stood someone wearing the ceremonial armor of an Imperial champion, its alien design somehow fitting her human frame perfectly. Kiratel made final adjustments to the armor's energy systems, while Fenris watched from his position by the window. The great warbeast had been unusually quiet since learning about the challenge, as if he understood the gravity of what was about to happen. "The rebels have accepted the terms," Kiratel reported, her 4 hands working efficiently with the armor's complex fastenings. "Their champion is someone called Marcus Webb, another human who was captured from your world." Maya's heart nearly stopped. "Marcus Webb, from the northern province? You know him?" "He was a soldier in Earth's defense forces before the invasion. A good man who lost his entire family when the Dominion ships arrived." Maya felt sick as the implications sank in. "They're using him against me because they know I won't want to hurt another human." "Will that be a problem?" Kiratel asked gently. Maya thought about Marcus as she remembered him, a decorated veteran with kind eyes who had always been gentle with children despite his military bearing. The idea of fighting him in mortal combat was almost unbearable. "Yes," she admitted, "it will be the hardest thing I've ever done." The journey to the arena of truth took place aboard the Empress's personal flagship, surrounded by a fleet of Imperial warships that ensured safe passage through rebel-controlled space. The ancient arena was built on a neutral moon that belonged to no faction, its massive amphitheater capable of holding representatives from every civilized species in the galaxy. As Maya walked through the ship's corridors toward the transport bay, she was surprised to find crowds of crew members lining her path. Humans, Velcarans, Zephyrians, and dozens of other species she couldn't identify all stood at attention, their expressions respectful and encouraging. "Word has spread throughout the fleet," General Vexcar explained, walking beside her. "You've become a symbol of something new, the possibility that different species can truly work together instead of simply conquering each other." "I never asked to be a symbol," Maya protested. "The best symbols rarely do," the general replied. "But sometimes the galaxy needs someone to show what's possible. even if they don't feel ready for the responsibility. The arena of truth was even more magnificent than Maya had imagined. Built from crystalline materials that caught and reflected the light of nearby stars, it seemed to float in space like a massive jewel. The amphitheater itself could hold over 1 million spectators, and today it was filled to capacity with beings from across the known galaxy. Maya entered the competitors' preparation area with Fenris at her side, feeling overwhelmed by the sheer scale of what was happening. This wasn't just a fight between two individuals. It was a referendum on the future of galactic civilization. Maya Chen. She turned to see a figure in rebel armor approaching. Even with his face partially obscured by the helmet's tactical display, she recognized Marcus Webb immediately. Time and hardship had aged him, but his posture and the way he carried himself were unmistakable. "Marcus," she breathed, removing her own helmet so he could see her face clearly. "I was hoping it wasn't really you." He stopped a few feet away, his own helmet retracting to reveal features marked by suffering and loss. "When I heard about the human girl who could command the Empress's war beast, I knew it had to be someone special. I just never imagined it would be little Maya from the farming district." "I'm not little anymore," Maya said softly, though she felt very small in that moment. "No, you're not." Marcus looked at Fenris, who was studying the older human with intelligent amber eyes. "Is it true? Can you really communicate with that creature?" Maya nodded, one hand resting on Fenris's massive head. "His name is Fenris, and he's not a creature, he's my friend. My family." "Family," Marcus repeated, his voice heavy with old grief. "I remember what that felt like." The arena's announcement system activated, filling the preparation area with the voice of the ceremonial herald. "Champions, the time has come. Present yourselves to the galaxy." Maya and Marcus walked side by side toward the arena floor, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. Despite being on opposite sides of this conflict, there was something comforting about having another human nearby. "Maya," Marcus said as they reached the entrance to the main arena, "I want you to know that I don't hate you for what you've become. The rebels told me you were a collaborator, but looking at you now, I think you're just trying to survive, same as all of us." "What about you?" Maya asked. "What are you fighting for?" "Justice," Marcus replied simply. "The Dominion enslaved our entire species. That can't go unanswered, even if the cost is my life." They emerged into the arena to thunderous noise from the assembled crowds. Maya looked up at the tiers of spectators and saw representatives from every corner of the galaxy, all watching to see which vision of the future would prevail. The Empress sat in the Imperial box, her red eyes fixed on Maya with an expression of confidence and pride. In the rebel section, Maya could see human prisoners who had been freed from various Imperial facilities, their faces mixing hope with uncertainty. "Citizens of the galaxy," the herald's voice boomed across the arena, "today we witness a challenge that will determine the moral authority to shape our shared future. In this corner, representing the Galactic Dominion, we have Maya Chen, the human who commands the unconquerable war beast." Fenris stepped forward and released a howl that echoed throughout the arena, his magnificent form drawing gasps of awe from the crowd. And in this corner, representing the Liberation Front, we have Marcus Webb, the human warrior who fights for freedom from Imperial oppression. Marcus raised his weapon in salute to the crowd, his bearing proud and defiant despite the odds against him. "The rules are ancient and sacred," the herald continued. "Combat continues until one champion yields, is incapacitated, or dies. The outcome will determine which faction holds the moral authority to lead the galaxy into its future." Maya looked across the arena at Marcus, this good man who had been turned into her enemy by circumstances neither of them could control. In that moment, she realized that the real battle wasn't between the Empire and the rebels. It was for the soul of galactic civilization itself. The signal chime rang out, echoing across the arena like a death knell. The battle for the future had begun. Marcus moved with the trained precision of a professional soldier, his plasma rifle tracking toward Maya's position as he sought cover behind the arena's scattered obstacles. Maya dove behind a crystalline barrier, feeling the heat wash over her as energy bolts seared the air where she had been standing. "I don't want to kill you, Marcus," Maya shouted across the arena. "There has to be another way. Sometimes good people have to die for the right cause," Marcus replied, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had already lost everything. You chose your side when you took the Empress's collar. Maya looked down at her armor, realizing that to Marcus and the rebels her imperial regalia was indeed a symbol of collaboration. She understood his anger, even as she prepared to defend herself against it. Fenris crouched beside her, every muscle tensed and ready for action. Through their bond, Maya could feel his desire to protect her, warring against confusion about why they were fighting another human. The great war beast had learned to trust her judgment completely, but this situation challenged even his understanding. "Stay close," Maya whispered to Fenris, "but don't attack unless I give the command. This isn't like our training exercises." She peered around the barrier and saw Marcus advancing tactically, using cover and movement patterns that spoke of years of military experience. His weapon was set to maximum power, intended to end the fight quickly. There would be no mercy in this battle, despite the personal connection between them. Maya broke from cover, Fenris moving in perfect coordination with her as they sprinted toward a position that would give them better tactical options. Marcus's shots followed them, coming close enough that Maya could smell ozone and superheated crystal as the energy bolts impacted around them. The crowd's roar was deafening, but Maya found herself tuning it out as she focused entirely on the deadly dance of combat. All of General Vexcar's training sessions had led to this moment, though she had never imagined she would be using those skills against another human being. "Maya," Marcus called out as she took position behind a new barrier. "The rebels told me what the Dominion did to our world. Millions dead, entire cities burned, our people scattered across the galaxy as slaves. How can you serve the beings who destroyed everything we loved?" The words hit Maya harder than any plasma bolt could have. The guilt and grief she had been suppressing since her arrival at the Imperial Palace came flooding back, bringing with it images of her family and friends who were likely dead or enslaved somewhere in the vast Dominion territory. "You're right," Maya shouted back, surprising both Marcus and herself. "The Dominion conquered our world and enslaved our people. That's unforgivable." Marcus paused in his advance, clearly not expecting that response. "Then why are you fighting for them?" Maya stood up, stepping out from behind her cover despite Fenris's worried whine. "Because I'm not fighting for the Dominion as it is, Marcus. I'm fighting for what it could become." Plasma bolts stopped flying across the arena as both combatants faced each other directly. The crowd fell silent, sensing that something unprecedented was happening in the ancient circle of truth. "The Empress isn't the monster we thought she was," Maya continued, walking slowly toward the center of the arena. "She's someone who learned to rule through conquest because that was the only way she knew. But she's also capable of growth, of change, of becoming something better." "Pretty words," Marcus replied, though his weapon had lowered slightly. "But the dead of Earth don't care about the Empress's potential for growth." "No, they don't," Maya agreed sadly. "But the living do. The humans still enslaved throughout the galaxy. The other species caught between the Empire and the Rebellion. The future generations who will inherit whatever world we create here today." Fenris had moved to stand beside Maya in the center of the arena, his amber eyes fixed on Marcus with an expression that seemed almost human in its understanding. The great war beast could sense the emotional pain radiating from both humans, and it was clearly affecting him deeply. "You want to know why Fenris chose me?" Maya asked, her voice carrying across the silent arena. "Not because I'm strong or brave or special. He chose me because I was willing to reach out to something that seemed dangerous and alien, to look past the surface and find the connection underneath." She gestured toward the spectator boxes where millions of beings from across the galaxy watched in fascination. "Look around, Marcus. Really look. How many different species are here, all capable of watching the same event and understanding its significance? We're not that different from each other. We all feel fear, love, loss, hope. The Dominion enslaved us," Marcus insisted, though his voice had lost some of its earlier fury. "Yes, they did, and that was wrong. But starting a war that will kill billions more won't bring back the dead or free the enslaved. It will just create new grievances, new cycles of revenge that could last for millennia." Maya reached out her hand toward Marcus, the same gesture she had once used to connect with a frightened war beast in a slave market. "There's another way, Marcus. A path that honors our dead without sacrificing our living." Marcus stared at her outstretched hand, his weapon trembling slightly in his grip. "What are you proposing?" "Partnership," Maya said simply. "Not surrender, not collaboration, but genuine partnership. Humans working with the other species to transform the Dominion into something that serves everyone." Not just the conquerors. The Empress would never agree to that. She already has, Maya replied and saw shock register on Marcus's face. This entire challenge was her idea. She knows the Empire needs to change, and she's willing to risk everything on the possibility that we can find a better way forward. In the Imperial box, the Empress stood and stepped forward to address the arena directly. Her voice, amplified by the ancient systems, carried clearly to every spectator. "Citizens of the galaxy," the Empress declared, "the human speaks truth. The dominion I inherited was built on conquest and subjugation. But that foundation is no longer sufficient for the challenges we face. Today, I formally propose the creation of the Galactic Cooperative, a new form of government based on partnership between species, rather than domination by one." The arena erupted, in chaos as the implications of the announcement sank in. Some spectators cheered, others shouted protests, and many simply sat in stunned silence as they processed what they had just heard. Marcus lowered his weapon completely, staring up at the Imperial box in amazement. "She's serious about this?" "Dead serious," Maya confirmed. "But it only works if people like you are willing to help build it. The rebels have legitimate grievances and valid ideas about how society should function. We need that perspective to create something better than what came before." Fenris stepped forward and gently nuzzled Marcus's free hand, the same gesture of friendship he had once offered to Maya in a cage. The former soldier looked down at the massive predator with wonder, perhaps beginning to understand the kind of connection that had made this moment possible. "This could be a trap," Marcus said quietly, "a way to neutralize the rebellion without actually changing anything." "It could be," Maya acknowledged, "but it could also be the beginning of something unprecedented, a galactic civilization built on cooperation instead of conquest. The question is, are you willing to take that risk?" Marcus looked around the arena, taking in the sea of alien faces, all watching to see what choice he would make. Slowly, deliberately, he set down his weapon and reached out to take Maya's hand. "For the children of Earth who deserve to grow up free," he said solemnly. "For all the children of all the worlds," Maya replied, clasping his hand firmly. The crowd's roar was deafening as the arena recognized that something historic had just occurred. Not a victory through violence, but a triumph of hope over hatred, of cooperation over conquest. In the months that followed, the transformation of the Galactic Dominion into the Galactic Cooperative would prove to be the most complex political undertaking in recorded history. There would be setbacks, resistance, and moments when the entire project seemed doomed to failure. But on that day, in the ancient arena of truth, two humans and a loyal war beast had shown the galaxy a different path forward. They had proven that even the greatest enemies could become partners when they shared a commitment to something larger than their individual grievances. Maya Chen, the farm girl from Earth who had commanded an Empress's fierce wolf, had become something even more remarkable, a bridge between worlds, a symbol of what the galaxy could achieve when different species chose to work together, instead of tearing each other apart. And in the end, that made all the difference.